Today on episode number 103 of the podcast, we're sharing some of the little things that we miss because of sight loss. What's up, VIPs? Welcome to Life After Sight Loss Radio, the podcast helping you discover life after sight loss. My name is Derek. I am your resident VIP, aka visually impaired person. And across the table from me is our resident sighted supporter, my lovely wife, April.
Hello there.
All right, today we're talking about the little things that we miss. I did a video about this, I don't know, 8 years ago, it feels like. Everything was a long time ago. But some of those little things, because everybody always says driving, like, what do you mean? Oh, it's driving, big things we miss. But it's those little things that kind of pile up,
right?
And make it a big deal. So we've got a few things that I miss myself, and then we've got a few things that you miss that you brought up. Mm-hmm. So we're just going to share those and see what happens here. So let's just jump right into it and talk about the little things that we miss here. All right, so first of all, I mentioned sitting back from the computer because I have to sit, an inch away from the computer screen to see it. Now, if I use a screen reader or something like that, I can sit away and that's fine. And the more I use the screen reader, the better I get at it. But I am a visual person, and I love being able to see, like, how is the user interface set up. A lot of times with the TV, I'm trying to find like the way the app is. Yeah. And so you'd be like, no, go to the right, go down, something like that.
Yes.
Because I'm like, why isn't this working? And it's like, So I sitting away from the screen is probably one of those little things that it's like, I would love to be able to have my monitor back on the desk and have a whole desk set up. Yeah, like they have on YouTube.
And see the entire screen at the same time.
Yeah, because, absolutely.
I mean, when you're zoomed in to something, you're only seeing a small portion of the screen at one time.
Yeah, definitely. So that's one of the little things that I miss.
Well, and
Sure, no, go ahead.
Adding on, you also have like back pain and like some arm pain and things like that. So it's not only like missing being able to see the full picture, but also like not having those discomforts as well. I would imagine that would be
the things that come along with it,
right?
Because I'm sitting so close. I'll sit close enough, and I'm leaning, so my back, I'm hunched. I sit with like my arm, my left arm's kind of back, so I can use the keyboard and my whatever. So it's not only the thing I miss, but it's because of the adaptation I have to make,
right?
That brings the other things.
Yeah.
That may be a whole nother podcast episode, actually. Just what you have to adapt to and what happens. All right, so why don't you share your first thing little thing that you miss?
So you talked about driving, and that's a big thing that people miss. But so my thing that I miss is being able to sit in the passenger seat, whether I'm falling asleep or just taking in the scenery as we're driving. That is one thing I miss. I like to watch around me when I'm driving, and sometimes Derek's like, honey, stop.
Yes, let's pay attention to the road, please.
Right.
Yes.
So I do miss being able to like watch the scenery as we're driving. I mean, we didn't really get a whole lot of that. I mean, when you were driving, we were 18 and I wasn't really, mature and taking in those things. But,
sure.
Thinking about what it would be like to sit in the passenger seat. And when I ride with Noah now too, it's nice to, see what's passing by instead of paying attention to where I'm going.
I think it's missing the opportunity for that, well, that's not going to happen. And what would it be like to have that?
Right.
So, yeah, definitely. Excuse me. I know the passenger seat can be a weird spot when you're sitting in it all the time.
Sure.
So I'm sure it'd be nice to, at least have the choice.
Yeah.
All right. So my next thing is playing video games. Now I made a video about this, I think, whenever it was, a couple of years ago, because somebody had mentioned, what was it? Super Smash Bros, I think.
Yeah.
And so I was like, I want to play this game because they had characters from games from when I was a kid. And I was like, I want to play this. And so we borrowed the game because it was on the Switch.
Yep.
And I was like, we're going to play it. And I just couldn't see it hardly at all.
Yeah.
It was just too busy, too colorful, whatever. And it was really bothersome at the time because I was like, I really wanted to do this. And so it reminded me, I'm, that's like inaccessible to me, and like you can't play this game. But two, it reminded me that you don't have access to lots of things in life.
Yeah.
So it was this little moment of like, because I wasn't a huge gamer, I definitely, I remember my first, I think we bought a PS2 after we were first married. And, I played the NES. I remember going down to the local movie rental place in my hometown and renting like a Super Nintendo. So they give you the whole thing and they give you the games or whatever. It was really cool. But I wasn't a huge gamer, but I liked and enjoyed the opportunity to play. And like now I try to play, some games and there's like anything that's long, you have to see things long ways off. I can't play that. And so it's just a reminder, not only that I can't play this game,
right,
but I don't have access to lots of things like that. So that's definitely a little thing that I miss. All right, next up for you.
So I miss being able to like snuggle on the couch or just sit on the couch and watch a show or a movie or, just being with you, because audio description allows you to sit back and watch the movie. But at the same time, you like to watch the action. So you end up at the TV screen watching the show so that you can see it. And I totally get wanting to be able to see it. Like you said, you're a visual person, but your head gets in the way. Or we have
Are
to
you saying I have a big head?
Well, I mean, whatever.
If the big head fits.
Or logistically, we have to think about where you're going to be standing so that, the rest of the fam can sit in places so that we can see a majority of the screen as well.
Yeah.
So I just miss being able to like sit and share a bowl of popcorn or something like that, on the couch rather than having you going back and forth or standing up at the TV.
I know audio description has really made that, it's taken that, I don't know, it's made it better, I guess, if that's a good way to say it. And I love audio description. If you don't use audio, this is a plug for audio description. If you don't use it, give it a shot. At first, it's weird. Don't get me wrong. But now, it's almost always on in our house.
Yeah,
like even
absolutely.
when I'm not watching it, because like you'll be in the kitchen and you can see the TV because we have sort of an open concept here. You can see the TV, but you're doing other things, you're cutting stuff, whatever. And the description is like, oh, I don't have to necessarily look at it to know what's going on.
Yeah, I do actually like it a lot, just to be able, because I feel like sometimes you also catch things that you wouldn't necessarily catch if you were just watching the show. Like if you were sitting down with your undivided attention watching the show, there are still things that audio description says that you wouldn't catch.
Yeah, audio description always gives you the most important things, for the plot line and things like that. And so there's definitely moments where it'll mention something and I'm like, oh, this happened. And you're like, what? You didn't even catch it.
You're right.
Because, you're scanning all the other stuff going on. I remember watching some show on Disney Plus, and there was something happened. Somebody had a thing on their chest that was blinking. And it was like the audio description, said that out loud, that the thing's blinking. So it told you something about that character. Like, are they going to live? Are they going to die? Something like that. And it was like, that's important to know. Did everybody catch that? I don't know, probably. Right. But if not, like I caught it for sure.
Yeah.
So yeah, I think audio description is great. Give it a shot. It does take a little bit to get used to. It's like, why is this person talking the whole time?
I think it's funny that the kids don't mind it when we're just home, the four of us, but when their friends come over, they're like, turn it off, turn it off.
They're like, oh, this is so embarrassing. This guy's talking.
No, we're leaving it on. Dad appreciates it.
Yeah.
It's
good.
Like,
this is great. I know we watch Friends on HBO Max.
Yep.
And so Friends on HBO Max, by the way, has audio description.
Yeah.
So if you have HBO and Max and you like Friends, it's funny whenever they go back and do audio description on older television shows.
Yeah.
It's like, we're just trying to cram this in anywhere. Like, we're doing our best here. But it has it, well, if you turn it on for that show, it's on for every show.
Right.
And so then Noah will go back and watch his show, and it's on. He's like, oh, so he always turns it off. So it's this battle of turning it on and off.
Yes.
But anyway, that's a whole side note on audio description. But yes, back to your point, it is a little bit tough not to be able to just sit and enjoy the movie together because, I'm a visual person for sure.
Yep.
All right. My third thing, because we have three things today, my third thing is being able to scan items when you're shopping. So a lot of times, and this isn't necessarily for like, I want to look and find what I'm looking for necessarily. For me, like if you go to the grocery store, you're looking for a box of macaroni and cheese, you're looking for it and you find it and pick it up. It's not so much that. It's like when we go, for example, to Best Buy. Like I love going to Best Buy and looking around at stuff. We don't buy anything a lot of times, but I love just going in and looking at the things. And it's difficult because I can't just scan the shelves and, the things that are hanging or whatever.
Right.
I can't scan and look. I have to like search everything out. And so that limits me on what I'm able to look at because otherwise I'm going to be like, okay, can you tell me everything that's in this aisle? Like that's not, it's kind of like reading the entire menu at a restaurant. That's not going to happen.
Unrealistic.
Yeah. And so, there are just times when it's like, gosh, I would love to be able to stand here and kind of look and see, oh, what do they have? What features does this thing have? What are the prices? What, all those different options. And so it's unfortunate that it's like, I miss being able to do that. It's not the end of the world, but it sure would be nice to be able to do that.
Well, and when we go into a store like Best Buy, because I do not like Best Buy, but I go anyway.
Because you're a good person.
Anyway, so you have to know what you're looking for when you go in, so you can tell me, so that we can find the section, so that we can find the right, area within that section, and then so that I can help you find what you need. So you really have to know what you're looking for when you go in. So you have to have done some research prior to going, rather than just like going into Best Buy and looking around and seeing what there is. It's like, okay, I have to know specifically what I'm looking for, so that, because I have no idea when it comes to, podcasting, electronics, anything like that. I'm like, I have no clue. So I have to have details so that I can find what you're looking for.
Yeah, and so it really takes, maybe a good way to call this is like window shopping. There's not a lot of opportunity just to go and kind of look around, because there might be something you didn't think about and you see it, you're like, oh my gosh, yeah, that'd be cool to have or whatever.
Right.
But there's none of that. You got to do all your research up front. You got to make sure you know what you're looking for. You go in, you buy that one thing, and and even in that, sometimes you go in to buy that one thing and you see this other thing that's near it,
right?
And you're like, that'd be nice to have, or oh, maybe I'll get that next time, or whatever.
Yeah. And that's actually what I thought you were talking about whenever you put this on here, because we didn't talk about this before we sat down to record.
We had no preparation. That's right.
I thought you were talking about like going to the grocery store, going clothes shopping or something, like scanning those kind of items, because we always spend more when you go to the grocery store with me, and I cannot even imagine what we would spend if you could scan all the shelves and see it all.
Yes, that's
because
true.
we would be in debt up to our eyeballs.
Yeah. Well, it's like you mentioned something. I'm like, oh yeah, let's get 5 of these. Whatever. No, yeah. For me, it's not so much that. I mean, that would be nice. It is that too. Like, hey, can you go? Like when we go to the grocery store, like, can you grab me a box of mac and cheese? No. Like maybe I figure I can get close to where it's at. Like if I'm standing right here, can I get a box? Yeah.
Sure.
Can I get the box you're looking for? Probably not.
Right.
So that is unfortunate as well. So I think, it's probably all those things. When going shopping is not near as fun when you are visually impaired. Now, if you go for the sole purpose of window shopping, like, okay, today we're going to go and we're going to spend an hour at this place and we're going to look at things, that's a whole setup. Like you can't just say like, hey, I want to go pick up this thing and spend an hour looking. It's like, you got to really be planned out. That's like, if you want to go and like, hey, we're going to go to, I don't know, some lake somewhere and we're going to do these 5 things. It's like, you got to be prepared. You got to know what you're going to do. Yeah. You got to be planned out. Same thing if you're going to go shopping, you got to be like, okay, are we window shopping? Are we buying this one thing? What are we doing?
Right.
So I know what's happening when we go into it. All right. And then what's your third thing?
So my other thing is working on Sundays and trying to figure out transportation for you. So, I didn't have to worry about transportation before because we weren't married. But I always think about how you're going to get home or get lunch if, we didn't have anything prepared or left over in the fridge and things like that. Now with Noah driving, it's not as big of a deal because he will bring you home and Aubrey as well. But before it was worrying about how you guys were going to get home, which I'm grateful that you took the initiative to figure that out.
Sure.
For the last few years as well, until Noah got his license. So
well, and it's a nice thing to not, it's things that we think about that other families don't think about.
Right.
Kind of like we talked with the kids, like what are the things we do or think about that other people don't, because they don't have to. It's just things that we do. Yeah. Like, oh, I got to think about transportation.
Right.
I got to think about a way home.
Can't just jump in the car and come home.
And go home. So that is true. All right. So those are just a few of the little things that we miss. Now, I think, and I didn't think about this before because, again, we have no preparation, but it seems like the overarching theme here is missing the opportunities of things. It's like, I don't always want to play video games. I don't always want to go window shopping. You wouldn't always sit in the passenger seat.
Right.
Things like that. But it's the opportunity that is stripped away from you after sight loss. It's like, well, you may have wanted, now you're not going to though, and now you don't even get the chance to at least try.
Right. You
and
can't
do
even make the decision to do it.
Yeah. And it's the decision that's taken away from you. And again, that's probably a whole nother podcast episode, but it's like, you lose a little bit of control in that regard. So it's like, oh, I miss playing video games. Oh, why can't you? Well, these reasons. Now, let me go and say this before we get to our question. There are things that you want to do that you can do. Like, it's like, oh, this would be hard. This would be challenging. Okay, like rock climbing or something. It's like, would that be more challenging? Sure, but go for, you can still definitely do it.
It is possible.
Absolutely.
Right.
Like driving is not possible. You do not want me on the road, obviously.
No.
Some things are just not possible. Now, I mentioned, I don't know when it was, in one of my videos, I said something about how there are things we can't do, like flying a plane. And my good buddy Sam from The Blind Life has flown a plane.
Of course he has.
With visual help. Other people have done that. Here's the thing, though. When I said you can't fly a plane, I mean on your own, obviously.
Right.
I can do a lot of things with visual aid, with help, with support, and that's exactly the way we do those things, and that's great.
Yep.
So sometimes when I mention things, it's always like, I meant by yourself. That's
right.
I can play video games with support. I can watch TV with help. Audio description is a help.
Yeah.
And that's the way I do it. So that's always clear. Anyway, I'm going to ramble on for 10 minutes. So let's get to the question that I have. What's one little thing that you miss because of sight loss? This is something we mentioned here today. Is this something else in your life? We'd love to hear about it. If you're watching the video, you can leave it in the comments below, or you can always send an email to lifeaftersightloss@gmail.com. All right, so before we get to our quote, we've got a few housekeeping items for you.
So if you're watching us on YouTube, make sure to give us a big thumbs up and hit the subscribe button so you don't miss another episode.
That's right. And if you're listening to the audio version of this podcast, you can, what can you do? You can subscribe in your favorite podcast app. That's what you could do. And then you can also give us a rating and a review, which we would love to hear from all of you on that. Yeah. Also, we would love to hear from you about anything that's going on in your life. You can send an email to lifeaftersightloss@gmail.com.
Or follow us on Instagram @lifeaftersightloss.
That's right. Okay, now let's get to the quote of the week.
All right, so this quote is unknown, and it says, "Pay attention to the little things, because when you really miss the good old days, you miss the little things the most, like just laughing with someone special."
That's right. So sometimes we say like, oh, I really miss before. I miss the good old days. We look at things with rose-colored glasses a lot of times.
Course.
Like everything was great. It's like, well, everything probably wasn't great. But the things that you miss about the good old days are those little things.
Yeah.
The spending time with grandma and grandpa, or having that special dinner that wasn't fancy, but you really liked it, and you only made it once every month
so
often, or something.
Yeah.
And it's those little things. The big things, they sort of dissipate. The good, the bad, whatever, they kind of melt together, but it's those little moments. And so sometimes, yes, we do miss before we lost our sight, but it's probably not the big thing, sure, driving or whatever, but it's probably those little things. And I just encourage you to find ways to do those little things if you can. Watching a movie, listen to audio description. Going outside, find ways to do the things you like, because it's the little things that we always miss.
Yep.
All right, folks. Well, thank you so much for watching today, wherever you are. And until next time, remember that sight loss isn't the end.
It's just the beginning.
My name's Derek.
And I'm April.
And we'll see you in the next one.